Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning an original piece that I wrote, which I'm going to call Moon Waltz. So I thought I'd share the backstory on how this song came about, because it's kind of interesting, especially if you love to songwrite. Well, as a songwriter, I think the thing that we all hope for is a song to just hit us, inspiration to come out of nowhere and boom, it's like you don't even have to try and out comes the song. Well, that actually happened with this tune. And let me tell you, that's extremely rare because most of the time I grab the uke and I sit down and I go, I'm gonna write a tune and nothing comes out. Or if something comes out, it's something that's really kind of not very good and we just toss it out and try again another day. Well, this was a song that just seemed to come out of nowhere, and I sat down an hour later, it was 100% done, and I was like, wow, I wish that happened every time. Now, this brings up kind of an interesting thought in my mind. There's a really famous story, and if I get it wrong, you can correct me in the comments below. But the song Yesterday by Paul McCartney, after he wrote that tune, he was a little bit worried that he may have subconsciously borrowed a melody from another song. So i.e., he kind of plagiarized, or it wasn't 100% his song. Well, it turns out that that song was 100% him. But the way this song came to me kind of makes me wonder if this the same thought that Paul had. Because a couple of years ago, I went through this phase where I was binging on Hawaiian music. And to me, this waltz sounds very Hawaiian inspired. So I wonder if something from that binge period a couple years ago came out in this composition. So I'm really curious if this song sounds familiar, like something that you've heard. Let me know in the comments. It's driving me nuts wondering if it's 100% mine or if I borrowed a little bit from something. So let me know. I'm really curious. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on and talk about the song in and of itself. This is a really good tune for the beginner player. It's not very hard to play. There's a couple things that are a little tricky, but for the most part, it's a really beginner-friendly fingerstyle piece. As the name implies, it is a waltz, so the big thing you have to know off the bat is that we're playing in 3/4, so that's 1, 2, 3, next measure, 1, 2, 3. So we're not counting in 4/4, right? So we have 3 beats per measure for a waltz. And the other thing is, I think the big takeaway with this tune is that you want to work on developing sustain. You want every note and every chord in this piece of music to beautifully sustain from one into the next, right? That's the real beauty of this tune, is that it just has an incredible sustain. Nothing sounds choppy. Everything just flows elegantly. So if you want tips on how to increase sustain in your playing, check out this lesson. It's taught from a high G point of view, but everything that's covered can be applied to baritone ukulele. So let's talk a little bit about how this lesson is going to work. So this is going to be the part 1 lesson, and we're going to learn the first half of the waltz in this video. If you want to learn the second half, we're going to do that in the part 2 lesson. So you can click this link, or you can go to rockclass101.com and do a search for Moon Waltz. Now, also on that page will be the tabs that you can print off to follow along with, and the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. All right, so let's kick into actually learning this piece of music. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the song in and of itself. I'm going to put up the form on the left or the right side here, and you can see that the form is an AABA. So that's what we're playing. We have 2 times through of the A melody, 1 B melody, and then back to the A melody. Now, the thing with each melody is that there's 16 bars in length, okay? And the first A melody is going to be a little bit simple. When we get into the second A melody, you're going to have some variation thrown in, so the piece sounds like it's developing. And then when we go back to the final A melody after we play B, we're going to inject a little bit of rubato. So if you don't know what that is, I'll put a link to a lesson that introduces that concept in the description box below, but we'll talk about rubato in the part 2 lesson. Now here's the second and the last thing I want to talk about, the right hand approach for playing this tune. As you can see, I'm holding up two fingers, the thumb and the index. So I'm going to use a really interesting way to play this tune. I am going to essentially take my ring and my pinky, and I'm literally just going to anchor it pretty much right at the edge of that curve right there. So just underneath the uke. Okay, so that's just going to anchor it, and that's going to allow these two fingers to be free to do strumming and plucking. And my middle finger is just going to float in the air. So it's not going to do anything. It's just going to float in the air. So here's what's happening. Anytime we have a strum, we're going to use our thumb. And it's just like a regular strum. So you can get in position and just do a regular strum. Okay, just a down strum with the flesh of the thumb. Very, very straightforward and simple. Now, anytime you have a single note that's on string 4 or string 3, you're going to use the thumb. So just downward pluck. Anytime you have a single note that's on string 2 or string 1, you're going to use your index finger. So just an upward pluck. And that's it. So throughout the entire song, that's the approach that I'm using. So you can see strum with the thumb, strum, and then single note with the index playing on the A string. So there's like the first couple lines, right? Okay, so that's the approach that I'm using. Now, if you want to simplify it, you can use your thumb for everything. If you want to make it a little bit more basic, or you can even do more traditional finger picking like a 3 or a 4 finger approach. It's really up to you. I'm just showing you how I interpreted it, and I really like the thumb sound because the thumb is a very soft and sweet sound as opposed to strumming with like the nail of the index. So again, this is a beautiful waltz. We want just a soft, sweet sound to our music. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover too is that this song is very simple from a harmony perspective. It's literally just 2 chords. We're just going from a G chord to a D7 chord. And that's literally how simple it is from a harmony perspective. Now, what happens with that is really 2 things. When we have a simple harmony, it kind of sets a very kind of chill, relaxed mood, right? If you ever listen to like a Steely Dan song, which has crazy chord changes, you know, it doesn't sound as relaxed as this piece of music, right? And the second thing with a very simple harmony is that it allows the melody to be the star. So the melody is really shining through, and that's what you want to focus to in your playing, to highlight the melody as we go through. You can hear da, 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 da. Do, da, do, da. Right, that melody is the star of the show, okay? So focus on making that really pop in your playing. All right, so let's go ahead and actually jump into learning it. We're gonna approach this song by learning 2 bars at a time. So that's a good phrase. Remember, we're playing in 3/4. So here's what the first couple measures sound like. Okay, and the other thing too is you can sing it out, right? Don't be too shy. You can sing that melody, and that helps you memorize it. So, la, da, da, da. Right, so you can just sing that little melody to help get that stuck in your head. Very catchy melody. So go ahead and make the stock G chord, the one that we learned on day 1 of baritone playing, and we're just gonna go ahead and strum down with our thumb. So as you can see on the tab right here, we're just going to hold it out for the entire measure. So we have 1, 2, 3. As we go into measure 2, you're going to see all quarter notes. So we're going to start with a strum, and then we're going to walk our melody down to the 2nd fret. So use your middle finger. And remember, if you're copying my right hand picking approach, I'm going to use the index to pluck that note. So 2nd on string 1. And then go back to the 3rd fret and play that. So you have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so strum, 2nd, 3rd. Okay, so pretty simple. Let's try that measure together. 1, 2, go. Nice. If we backtrack, let's try 1 into 2. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. Nice. From here we have quite a big jump. We're going to go all the way up to the 7th fret. So here's the thing, anytime you have big jumps up the neck, what you want to do is you want to use these dots. So unfortunately, every ukulele is not uniform in the dot placement. Some ukes have the first dot, like mine, on the 3rd fret. Some have it starting at the 5th fret. So just take a look at what you have and memorize what you've got. But for my case, I've got the first dot on 3, 2nd dot on 5, 3rd dot on 7. If I can memorize that, then when I'm jumping from this 3rd fret to the 7th, I can just go to the 3rd dot, right? That's an easy way to move up. Now here's the other thing. Don't watch your finger like that. Don't keep your eye locked on your ring finger as it goes up and move your head like that. What you want to do is you want to keep your eye on the prize. The prize is that 3rd dot, the 7th fret. So I'm keeping my eye on this dot, and as I slide up, I stop my finger until it meets my eye. So I'm not watching the finger, I'm instead keeping my eye on the prize, sliding my finger till it meets that 3rd dot. And also, last but not least, the dots, they're not just on the neck itself. So when I taught beginner students, a lot of times they would move the uke like this and pivot it down to look at the dots. Don't forget the dots are on the top of the neck as well. So use those as your visual guide, okay? So we're gonna do a crazy big jump up to the 7th fret, and as you can see in the tab, we've got another full chord for the full measure. So we're just gonna hit it and hold it out for 3 beats. So 1, 2, 3, okay? If we look at the next measure, we're just gonna go down to the 5th fret, and it's gonna be a single note. So you can use the index finger for that one. If you want to, you could move the ring finger back. Doesn't really matter. I'd probably use the index because it helps to build that sustain as well. So yeah, use the index finger for that. So if we try those 2 bars together, we're gonna go measure 3 into 4. Very simple. So we have 7 and then to the 5. And remember, they last the entire measure, okay? So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. Nice. Awesome. So let's backtrack. Let's try 1 through 4. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. Nice. So very, very simple so far, right? Let's take a look at the next couple measures. I'm going to play them, and then you tell me what you notice. So it sounds like this. So you should notice that it's almost identical to the first 2 measures with 1 note different. If we look at measure 5 by itself, we're just starting with the stock G, lasts the entire measure, same as measure 1. Then if we look at measure number 6, we are walking down the strum to the 2nd fret, and this time, instead of going back to 3, we're going to the open. So you're just going to hit that open 1st string. So very, very simple. Let's try measure 6. So we have strum to open. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, go. Nice. And if we try 5 into 6, we have 1, 2, go. 2, 3. Nice. So here we go into our first little chord change. So we're going into a D7 sus2. So what you want to do is make the basic D7. I think most of us know how to do this. And the only difference between this stock D7 and the one that you see up on the screen, the D7 sus2, is that you're going to lift that ring finger up. So we have open, 2nd, 1st, open. So middle finger, index finger. So this open E string, that's what gives us the sus2, okay? So if you look at the 7th measure, you can see that we're going to strum 4 to 2. Okay, so when you strum, try to stop on that 2nd string. Don't go 4 to 1, try to go 4 to 2. So really watch your thumb and try to stop on that 2nd string, okay? because we want that melody note, which is the note on the second string, to ring out, right? That's the melody note for this first hit. Okay, here's what this measure sounds like. Okay, so we're essentially building out of this chord. So start with the sus2 intact. We're gonna strum 4 to 2, then play string 3, and then place your pinky on the 3rd fret of string 2 and play that note. So we have strum, then pluck with the thumb on string 3, then place your pinky on the 3rd fret of string 2. Okay, so we have strum 3, 3 on 2. A little tricky because we got to use the pinky, which is generally the weakest finger, but the more we use it, the stronger it gets. But let's see if we can try that measure together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Nice. As we go into the next measure, lift the pinky up and we're going to strum all 4. So we want to hear that open E string this time. So strum all 4, then play string 3 again with the thumb, and then take your ring, put it on the 2nd fret of string 1. And what do you notice? It builds into that stock dominant chord shape. Okay? So again, for this one, start with the pinky up, strum all 4, string 3, 2nd fret, string 1 with the ring. Creates that stock dominant shape. So let's see if we can try that 8th measure together. So we have 1, 2, go. Strum 3, 1. Nice. If we backtrack 7 into 8, 1, 2, 3. Nice. And if we backtrack again, let's see if we can go 5 to 8, and then we're going to go 1 to 8. So 5 to 8 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. 3. Nice. And if we backtrack again, 1 through 8. So 1, 2, go. 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. Nice. So that completes everything for the first 8 bars. That gives us half of melody A. So let's go ahead and take a look now at what happens for the second half. So let me play through the first 2 bars and you tell me what you notice. It's identical to bar 1 and 2. So 9 and 10 is the same as 1 and 2. So let's jump over those. Let's try 11 and 12, which sounds like this. So we've got a change happening here. So let's break it down. So remember our crazy jump up to the 7th fret. So we're going to do that again. So use the ring finger. So we're going to start with a strum. Then we're going to hit the open D string. And then move our ring finger up to the 10th fret and play just that single note. So we've got strum, open 4, 10 on string 1. Let's give that a shot, all quarters. 1, 2, go. Nice. Now at this point, we're going to go back to the 7th fret. So just move that ring finger back down to the 7th fret. We're going to strum, and then hit the open D again, and then go to the 5th fret with your index. So you have strum, 4, index, playing 5 on string 1. So let's give that one a shot. So we have 1, 2, go. Okay, so pretty simple. A little bit of jumps with going up and down. So if I play through those 2, it looks and sounds like that. Now that time around, I used a different fingering. I started with the ring, so everything like we learned, but this time around, I moved to the index to play 7 and 5. So you may want to try that. You can go index, or you can go like we covered, with the ring finger going back to 7. So try both and figure out which one feels the best to you. But let's see if we can try those 2 together. 1, 2, go. Now, if we backtrack, let's try 9 through 12. Remember, 9 and 10 were the same as 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Okay, now this is actually a good point. I hit that open 4th string a little too hard on one of those hits. So while you're playing, you want to really focus on trying to make everything even. Now, a lot of times when you're playing a waltz, it kind of puts an accent on beat 1, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, where you want to hit 1 a little bit harder. But I think with this song, it sounds a little bit sweeter just to kind of keep everything kind of a little bit more uniform. Sounds a little bit sweeter to my ear. So let's try that again. And if you haven't been trying the even approach, try it again for this. Let's go 9 through 12. 1, 2, go. 2, 3. Nice. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next 4 measures, which will complete this A melody. So these next 4, they're going to get a little harder because we got to play a bar chord. Okay, it's actually a partial bar chord. So partial bar means that we're covering either 2 or 3 strings. Full bar chord means we're covering all 4. But for this one, we're going to take the index, lay flat on the 5th fret, string 1, 2, and 3, and then place your pinky on the 8th fret of string 1. So we've got the open D ringing out. Okay. Now here's the thing with bar chords. What's really important is to develop proper form, which leads to building finger strength. So bar chords, they're hard because they require a lot of strength, but a lot of times beginners have bad form, which is impeding you in building strength. So form is not only what's happening in front of the neck, but it's also what's happening behind the neck. So you can see this U-shaped gap where my thumb is placed slightly above the middle of the neck. And all of that is really, really, really vital to getting these chords to ring clean. So if you need a recap on proper left hand form, you can click this link. I'll put a link in the description box below. Again, they're going to be taught with the reentrant tuned ukes, but all of the concepts that are covered in that article and the video, they all apply to baritone as well. So with this chord, as you can see in the chord graph, it's another sus2, just a variation, a higher voice variation. So we're going to start with a strum, and what we're going to do is we're going to literally just play out of this. So with this chord intact, you notice that we had that bar on 5, strings 1, 2, and 3. We also added our pinky to the 8th fret of string 1, right? So we start with this shape, right? Index and pinky. We strum, then we're going to play string 3. But at this point, we need to get rid of the pinky and we need to put the ring down on the 7th fret of string 1. So when you're playing this, you want to go strum 3, remove the pinky, put the ring down on 7 on string 1. So strum 2, 3. Okay? So let's see if we can try that slow. 1, 2, 3. Strum 2, 3. Nice. So if you need to hit pause to practice that, it's a little tricky with the bar chords. Just hit pause, work on getting that nice and clean. But if you've got it, let's keep going. So here's what we left off. We left off with flat on 5 and the ring on 7, okay? So for this part, or this measure, we're going to just be playing single notes. We're going to go 2nd string, 3rd string. So nothing moves, nothing in the hand moves. 2nd, 3rd. But at this point, you need to lift that ring finger up and move it to 7 on string 2. So you have 5, 5, 7 on 2. Okay? So let's see if we can try that. Start with the bar down with the ring on 7 on 1. So we're going to go 2nd, 3rd, move the ring up, 7 on 2. Okay? 1, 2, go. 1, 2, 3. Okay? At this point, I want you to lift the bar up and just take that ring finger and move it up to the 8th fret. And you can strum 4 to 2. So again, targeting our strum 4, 3, and 2. Now that's using the ring finger. You could also use the pinky, which means that if I play from the previous measure, I just lift the ring up, place the pinky down on the 8th fret. So ring or pinky, either one works, up to you. I usually tend to use the pinky, but it's up to you which one you want to do. But as you can see in this measure, 15 right here, we just let it ring out, and if you look at 16, it just gets tied into that measure as well. So the key thing here is when you go strum 4 to 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hold it for 2 measures, okay? Here's another tip. So strumming 4 to 2, sometimes, like in that case, I might accidentally hit string 1. But I can mute with my pinky string 1 in case I accidentally hit it. So if you can see that I'm curved on a fingertip, but I'm not perfectly curved like that, where the first string rings out. Instead, I'm pushing my finger slightly down a little bit so that it touches string 1. And when I touch a string 1, it's the same as a muted strum, where you lightly touch strings and mute string 1. So if I hit string 1 on accident, I don't hear it. Okay? It's really kind of a tricky thing to get down, but once you get it down, you start to notice how useful it is. If you're playing this song, you're standing up with the little strap for the baritone. You know, sometimes you may not be the most accurate in your strumming. Little tricks like this help clean up your playing. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's try the last 4 bars. So we're taking it from the bar chord. Okay, let's give that a shot, but slower. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 1, 2, done. So really important that when you get to that last chord, that little G5, that you keep it held out ringing and you count the entire length. So you don't want to just go strum and let go, right? You want to go strum, 2, 3, holding 2, 3, done. Okay? So that's another thing I saw with beginners. They would get to the end, but they wouldn't count. You know, it's really important that you hold it for the proper duration. All right, so let's backtrack. Let's try 9 through 12. I'm sorry, 9 through 16. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. One, 2, done. Nice. And I'm going to go ahead and cycle through all of melody A so we can hear all 16 bars intact. So it sounds a little bit like this. Okay, so that gives us a pretty good idea of what it sounds like in its entirety. So remember, start slow. It's not a very fast song, right? Just start slow and really work on just getting the sustain and the clarity of all the notes, all that to ring out. It's a really beautiful sounding tune, and we really want to highlight that melody, okay? So as we move on, let's go ahead and talk about the second time through for melody A. The second time through for melody A is literally just going to play primarily the same chords, all the same patterns, everything that we did, but we're just going to add a couple notes and change things up slightly here and there, just to create a little bit of variation and to make it sound a little bit more busy. And we want the piece of music to develop, sound like it's like a story, right? You always have an intro, and then you got a middle part where tension builds, and then you got the climax at the end, right? You don't want to have an intro followed by an intro, right? You want the music to feel like it's developing and flowing. And so when I play a little bit of this, you can hear how it starts to get a little bit more full sounding. Right, so we're starting to kind of just make it a little bit more full sounding so that the music just feels like we're going somewhere, right? But as you saw, it's pretty much just the same stuff that we're playing, right? But we're filling it up. So let's learn what's happening. So we're going to go ahead and start with the same stock G chord and the same beginning for the first couple measures. So start with that G chord. We're going to go ahead and do a strum, followed up with 2 open third string. So we have strum, O, O. And try not to hit the 4th string like me. So strum, O, O. Going on to the next measure, so 18, we're going to go strum, 2, 3. So it's identical to measure 2. So let's try those 2 measures together. 1, 2, go. Strum, open, open, strum, second, third. Nice. As we go up, we're going back to the 7th fret just like we did before, but this time around, strum, 4, 4. So 2 open 4s. So strum, 4, 4. Okay? And then if we look at the next measure, we're going to do the same. We're going to go with the index finger to 5. Instead of playing it as a single note, we're going to strum and then hit 2 open 4. Okay, so we have 7, strum, 4, 4 to 5, strum, 4, 4. So very simple, right? Let's give that a shot. 1, 2, go. Okay, if we backtrack, let's try 17 into 20, right? So 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3. Nice. So let's take a look at what happens in the next 4 measures. So measure 21, it's going to start exactly like measure 17. So we have strum, open, open on the 3rd string. As we look at measure 22, we're going to do the same as we did in the first time through the A melody. So strum, second, open 1st string. So the melody walked down, right? So that remained the same. So let's try those 2 bars. So we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Nice. So very simple changes so far. As we go into the next measures, 23 and 24, they are identical to how we ended 7 and 8. So we're playing out of the sus2. Remember, we strummed 4 to 2. Then we played the 3rd string, pinky, went on the 3rd fret of string 2. Look at the next measure. We strum all 4 with the open E. Then the 3rd string, followed by the ring, creating that stock dominant shape. So those 2 measures were the same. So let's try this. Let's try the last 4. We're going to go 21 to 24. So really the only change was in 21, right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if we backtrack, let's try those 8 measures in their entirety. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so very simple variations, right? It's literally like we're just vamping on an open string in a few of these measures. Nothing really crazy is happening. Now, as we go into the final 8 bars to complete this variation on melody A, let me go ahead and play through the first set of 4. So this is going to be measure number 25 through 28. And it sounds like this. So again, the only change that happened was in the first measure. So when we make that G, we're going to go strum 3, 3. And again, try not to hit 4. So strum 3, 3. But the next 3 measures, strum 2, 3, strum O, 10, strum O, 5. They were all identical to the previous A melody. So let's not play through that. Let's go ahead and look at the last 4. And the last 4, they are going to sound like this. So the first 2, they're like identical. So strum 5, sev, 5, 5, sev. And when we get to 31, this is where we have our change. So go to the G5. Remember, you can use pinky or the ring, up to you. I'm gonna use pinky. I'm gonna go strum 3, 3, and then in the final measure, just hit string 2 by itself. So let's try that. Let's try the last two, 31 and 32. 1, 2, 3. Strum 3, 3, second string. Okay? Remember, when you hit that second string, you want to count for the duration. So 1, 2, 3. Okay? So let's try this. Since there's so much variation in this stuff, let's just go ahead and backtrack. I'm going to cycle through 17 through 32. If you've got it, you can play along with me, but here's what everything sounds like. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's a good gist of what everything sounds like for that little variation melody. So that's everything that we're going to cover in this lesson. So we've got half of the tune learned. So all we really have to learn moving forward is the B melody, and then we're going to talk about how to use rubato the last time through for the A melody. Remember, the form of this tune is A, A, B, A. So we've covered the first two A's. So we'll be kicking into B and A in the part 2 lesson. So if you want to watch that lesson, you can click this link, or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Moon Waltz. Now also on that page were the tabs that you can print off, you can keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So that was the ability for you to watch the tab in real time. You can see it scroll across, you can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and I look forward to seeing you in the part 2. The B melody is a ton of fun to play, and I'll see you in that lesson. Take care.